like you were saying, is that if somebody puts on an act or does something because somebody else likes it but doesn't enjoy it, like we had a friend that she says she doesn't like to go down on a guy. And you have to wonder, like, well, do you enjoy it? Because you got to, the give back, it's not just about receiving. So on things like that, how do you, like, if somebody's doing something they don't like,
Yes.
is that going to work? Or do you feel like they're eventually it's going to be a resentful thing? Or
Well, I'm currently working with a couple who one of the issues that they're coming in with is that they did a lot of anal play very early on in the relationship. A lot. And when it started to not work for her, both from a pain place and then, of course, from a fear place, she was not comfortable sharing that with him because the expectation was that it was going to be a steady part of their relationship and a steady part of their sex life. So now what we're working on is helping him to understand, because he's basically she put a stop sign like right in front of him, but she didn't explain why. And now it's coming out, oh, it's because I was experiencing this, this, and this. And in terms of what I was just talking about, she was worried that if she overshared some of the physical symptoms that she was having, the negative side effects of that would turn him off. So it's a tough place to like not overshare, but to also share enough to where he's not wondering what happened and why is this part of our sex life completely off the table now. And so, I mean,
because what happens if you don't like something?
Yeah.
You try it together and you don't like it. And then you keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like just that
Just to
situation,
impress.
she may never want it again.
There are a lot of sexual activities that some people will be like, nope. But when they learn how to do it the right way, quote unquote, or y'all, the things that lube will do.
Yeah, we've heard that.
When you're older,
and even
we've
just
heard a lot of that this past couple of months.
I always include some
baby oil.
No baby oil. But I always include like genital wipes, things that help you to clean. Because the thing that lube and clean genitals will do for you and your sex life. And of course, like we were just talking about anal, for instance, a lot of people are like, oh, we want to try anal. I'm like, you do not try anal. You have to train for anal. You have to prep for anal. And that could be the case for any sort of penetration, whether it's your mouth, your vagina, your anus, like whatever it is. So I think for a lot of people, once they get more information, it doesn't feel so scary. It doesn't feel like such a turnoff. But even then, some people will say, even when we've tried it this way, it doesn't do anything for me. And that's different than I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of partners, sometimes it's just a matter of, okay, what can we do instead that will be fun and exciting, both mentally and physically.
To take it off that. And
or
move
they
to the
had a
next.
bad experience when they did it with somebody else, and then they just don't want to try it again.
Yep, that happens
because the
all the
other
time.
person was probably rough, and
or if there's any kind of trauma or triggers
anything
around it.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends. I mean, everybody has a different threshold. Everybody has a different layer to them about what is and is not comfortable.
Well,
for
and each
a lot of
partner
reasons.
has different sizes. Each partner has, I mean, there could be differences where you're like, oh, yeah, this worked really well. Well, your partner was less endowed than the last one. And so, maybe, or more endowed. Like it's,
how do I say that
happens
politely?
Maybe don't say it when you're in the
say it.
middle of it.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
in the
wait.
middle of it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
But at
Or
coffee,
perhaps
listen, tonight,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
not for me. Just letting you know. But I think that it has to be addressed.
Yeah.
It definitely has to be addressed because you don't want to be in a situation like you're saying, in the middle of something, and then everybody's all confused, and it's something, it's a turn off,
Yeah.
and we're just like, oh my God.
Well, and one thing that I would say to all your listeners is if you are wondering, like, oh my gosh, is my partner doing this, but they don't really like it, notice one kind of clear sign that maybe it's not something that they're really into is if they feel like they have to be on something in order to do it, whether that's alcohol, drugs,
Yes.
painkillers, whatever
Yeah,
it is.
that would be me.
If they need to be out of their mind and
Also,
out of
out
their
of
body.
it.
She's like a sedative.
No, that's a real sign. Like if
Yeah,
somebody,
it's
'cause-
painful or something
and
like that.
unfortunately, they
Trauma.
maybe the whole like little shtick that some doctors, not all of them, but some doctors are like, oh, have a glass of wine, you'll be fine. It's like
Relax.
just relax and you'll be fine. Yes, relaxation is a big part of pleasure in sex, but if you feel like you have to be on something or be away from your body in order to do something, that's probably a sign you need more help with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, I guess I'm gonna have to stop drinking.
I know. She's like, wait a minute. That
Maybe it also
me.
leads to being like, hey, hi, come over.
Maybe it leads.
But I mean, some of that stuff is years of what we've been taught, right? And it's so uncomfortable to even bring up the conversation or things like that. But again, like you said,
it's funny. It's like just listening to this. I'm like, if my mom knew what I was listening to, not just because my mom, she's from Mexico. She's from a little, ranch. And so this was never talked about. I mean, now everything's exposed, but she still has, that mentality where you don't talk about that stuff still.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So
like toys.
Yeah.
Like toys. I mean, that was my next thing that I was going to bring up is toys. So
there's a toy in the Vivid Fantasy.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
I'm like,
pull
keep
it out.
talking
Let's
about
see
it.
it. I'm
have
here
to
for
pull
it.
Out.
There's a few toys, but
Okay.
the toy I'm talking about.
Is everything in there?
Everything is in this kit, and I'm holding up a kit that is, it looks like a black book with pages because I want it to be discreet.
Okay.
And in the kit, we have a few things. Of course, I'm always repping Bloomy because I just love their toys. So this is a mini vibrator. It's called Play, and
very demure.
Very demure.
Don't take
Do
it
they
to work.
come in different
but what's
colors?
really it doesn't. This
That's
is
the color?
very very chic, very
very
aesthetically
chic.
pleasing. But the thing that I love about this one that they were very mindful of is the fact that you can put it into a
Little
holster, like
A gun
Oh,
holster.
holster. She's like a holster.
Watch out for your gun.
People out there are screaming when you put on
The little fanny pack thing, the crossbody.
y'all. Whenever you're going to peg someone or you're going to, and especially
your
for
harness?
lesbians, a strap on.
Strap on harness. Yeah.
Jesus.
Harness. I was like,
Sorry,
a
I
holster.
didn't bring him up.
Harness, absolutely.
I
So
don't know
it
what's
fits
going
in most harnesses, so you can have that vibe on yourself and on your partner.
Okay.
And then I also have, this is a lot of fun. This is from Sweetums. She is an amazing founder. She is in the psychotherapy world. And these are wipes that are for it down there that are to help kind of build your confidence in case you're worried about the way you taste or smell. And again, not everybody needs to worry about that. Not everybody should worry about that. But for those women who do, or for men who feel like, oh, it'd be something, what's a flavor down there today, then they can use this.
Oh, it has flavor.
It has flavor.
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
it's taste below the waist.
Oh,
This
okay.
one is mojito flavored. So
Mojito. We just said if you need that to get going.
and then these are my favorite wipes. These are intimate wipes from Woo More Play. I love these. I always include these in the kits. And then
Are those like the other one?
No,
no,
those
these
are
are
just
not.
white.
These
to
are
clean,
just white.
right?
And yes, and let me tell you, one
For-
of these
for
goes
car
a
sex
long
or
way.
something.
For anything, let me tell you, anytime,
adult wipey.
like if you
Yeah.
ever want to wipe after the fact, or if even if somebody was to say not come inside of you, this is going to take it off in one fell swoop. I love it. So it gives you options. And then, of course, I always include a lube. This one would not be appropriate to use with the Play, but this is if you, let's say you want to use skin to skin, then oil base is good. And this is from Bloomy. It's called Delight. Now, the thing that I love about this kit is that this is where this exploration comes in. This is a sash that doubles as a blindfold
Okay.
and as a restraint. Yes. So again, most people would be like, well, okay, so I guess I know how to use that. But when you scan this QR code, which I'm not going to show because this is for people who have been, when you scan the QR code, it gives you prompts as to how exactly to use it. Whether it's
like going
a
to the
little
gym.
That's what I was
role
going to
play,
ask. Like, how
or
is
Like
for
going to the
blind
gym.
It is.
yes. So you scan
Well,
that.
maybe at Planet Fitness.
And then lastly, I'm big into smells. I think that smells are really important, and they're a way to initiate sex for some people who maybe don't verbally want to say you want to have sex. So I've included a candle. It's an exclusive scent that y'all want to smell it. It's okay. It's called Pillow Talk. It hasn't come out on my website or anything yet, but it's always
Ooh,
a part.
so we
that's
get
good.
first.
I like
I like
that.
Pillow
Yes.
Talk.
First insight on it.
So
Dibs
it's
on the
kind of
candle.
fun. It just kind of
it smells
anytime.
good.
I
I
brought
love
one
it.
for you. Don't
I
worry.
know.
I did. I
Love
brought one
that.
for y'all. So
Smells
yeah,
so
it's
good.
it's one of those things where
It's like a
it's
fresh
just a
one.
good
Again,
start.
important. And that's
Setting the
that
mood.
is yes, it's
Yeah.
a great conversation piece right there to give as a gift.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
then to be an anniversary gift or something
Yeah.
like
Or
that.
to give to your girlfriends who are
Yes.
getting
That's
married,
right,
or
yeah.
if somebody's, getting into a new relationship.
Or your 70-year-old
maybe-
mom
I
who's
know.
still single.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Who doesn't even know what that
it's
is.
A safe way. It's a safe way to explore, and I want people, because they always say, "But what do we do with it?" Okay, I have spelled it out for you.
Yeah.
I will tell you exactly what to do
Yeah.
step by step.
And I love that. No,
Thanks. I
that
love
is
it too.
actually a great gift.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So basically, that is a easy way to tell someone maybe you need a toy, maybe you need back to toys, right?
Toys.
Because I feel like when we get together as ladies, as women, that conversation comes up many times. We've been like, girl, do you got a toy? Or, whatever has their point in your life. And there's always maybe one that's like, toy? No way.
Yeah.
I've heard that if you use that, you're not going to want to, and you're
Yeah,
not going to
you
enjoy
won't be
sex
able to
anymore.
do it again,
Or
yeah.
da-da-da-da. And, but I
You
mean,
know who
there's-
said that?
Who?
Men.
I was wondering about
Probably.
Yeah.
That's propaganda.
Well, I feel like that's also something I've heard too from men when they're like, once you go black, you don't come back. Okay, I came back, but no, I'm just saying. But yeah, but sometimes people, that's another taboo, I think. It's a taboo that's put out there and it makes you think like you don't deserve your own.
Or why do you need help?
Yeah.
Like, why would you need help? Ain't I enough?
Because
Like,
women
say
have
that,
sex
yeah.
and don't orgasm either.
So
tragic.
there's so much to unpack here. I would say let's start with the fact that like women don't typically get socialized to masturbate until they're maybe in college or even beyond that. Men, it's just kind of a given that most men start to explore their bodies when they're like 9, 10, 11 years old. And there are some issues that come up with that. That's actually the very first book I ever wanted to write was on how your self-touch can negatively or positively impact you later on in relationships. And one of the things that a lot of men that come to see me have is an issue with early ejaculation. Well, and so what I find out is that the way that they
We need to fix
self-pleasure
that problem.
is an issue. And I do. I help them fix that problem. But for a lot of women who aren't being socialized, they're not really learning about what's possible just from a physiological standpoint. Why do men get to masturbate from such an early age? And fortunately now we're not like shaming them for it. But when women do in the way that we prefer, which is with vibration.
And why does it have to be so loud?
Well, these are very discreet. Bloomies are very discreet.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
they're very discreet. I will say that. But that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of times we just think, well, it's because it's not our hand, it's not okay. Now, I will tell you, I do recommend that if that is an issue or a concern at all, that you might get too, dependent on a battery-operated boyfriend, that you should try to use something that stimulates you like your partner could, whether, whoever it is, more often than you're using your toy. So if you're masturbating 4 times a month, let's make sure that 2 or 3 of those times, or at least one of those times, is with your hand and simulating something that your partner could. Because the truth is, no penis, no body, no tongue, no nothing can simulate a vibrator. So you're right. There are some people who are like, ooh, this is easy, this is quick. But easy and quick isn't necessarily what you want to have when you're in a partnership, and isn't like always the go-to when it comes to sex. And men will say that too. Like sometimes, I will encourage them, don't just masturbate like you're about to get caught by your mom in the bed, or like in those 3 minutes that you're taking a shower. Masturbate similarly to when you're with a partner.
Right.
Because if not, you do get used to coming very quickly.
Well, questions, ladies. Okay, so I have a question. So has it been difficult for you guys at some point in your life to use a vibrator with a man?
Yes.
Not on him, but in
yes.
in the,
I think there's a question about them being demasculinated. Like, I'm not enough for you. I think it comes from communication about why you want to bring it in. It's not necessarily to
use it
one
on
up
them
you and
or
show,
use
like,
it on them.
Yeah, like this is how you should be
Yeah.
doing it. That's not
Yeah.
necessarily the case. It's more just being open about why you're bringing it into the relationship. And sometimes depending on the partner, I mean, maybe it's that they want to use it on you. There's lots of ways that you can use a vibrator.
Right.
It's not just a one and done situation. So I think it really depends on the communication and what each partner is comfortable with. And again, how they perceive it and the reason they see it. I mean, if you're initiating it, why are you initiating it? And have you communicated about it rather than just to like spring a harness
Yeah,
and strap
just-
on a
yeah.
relationship. Like, hey,
Throw the
here's
box
what we're
out.
doing.
You're the doctor, but I've always heard that some women only get stimulated by,
Clitoral stimulation
clitoral
versus
stimulation,
vaginal.
and others don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
through
so,
penetration. So
I would say 80 to 90% of women can only climax through clitoral stimulation. Some women are able to do and reach some of those nerves internally, but most of the time it's externally. A lot of men don't realize that
Yeah.
because porn does not
Teach that.
that.
Porn is lies.
I
Stay away from
I
porn.
know.
Jeez.
Yeah, like it's
And then
misinformation.
they've
It's
been
fantasy,
they've been
and they don't
fake
realize it.
orgasmed as well.
Yeah,
and so
Again, a lot of women
everybody-
will say, "Well, because I know that you feel about the way that you do about this, I'm just gonna buy into that in order to save your ego." I will tell you, the question was like, "Has it ever been a problem?" I'm very fortunate. I love to walk the walk. I don't just talk the talk. So with myself and my husband, who we've been together for a really long time, everything is very open. And I think because it's very open, there's no like no. There's no. It might be well, we can try and see what happens, like and so we keep things very open. I guess I'm very conscious of that because I'd love to have a great sex life forever. So making sure that knowing how to talk about it and all of that, it's not perfect. Like I'm still a human. So there were times where postpartum, I'm like, no, I don't feel like, and things like that. But for the most part, I will say, I think he's a really great partner. And I'll just give myself a little kudos because like nothing has to be this huge deal. Like, okay, so maybe I don't orgasm that time. Like, and
yeah.
what? We've got tomorrow. Like, I'm like, what?
Well, I think that just kind of puts us back into the culture and coming from two people who don't know how to communicate and you've always kept it inside. And they're too masculine, and then now here you are, and it's like, well, what do you want that for, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I do think I personally have not had a problem with someone being okay with that. But I could imagine if you've been with somebody since your younger years and you're so used to a certain thing, and then
you wanna change it
women go through, like you said, changes.
Yeah.
And they maybe they just one day say, okay, now
doesn't
I'm
work
going to
anymore?
speak up. I don't want to,
Yeah.
I definitely want something different. And here's that husband that's like, wait, what?
So I tell, and I would encourage all of you to share with the younger generations, even if you have girlfriends who are like just now getting married, maybe they're in their 20s, maybe they're in their 30s. I would encourage them to always use lubricant, even if they don't, quote unquote, need it. Your bodies get used to that, so that and the men get trained to see it as a normal part of sex, as a very helpful part of sex, so that they don't feel like, oh my gosh, because so many men unfortunately and erroneously believe that the amount of lubrication that your body creates is in response to what they're doing or not doing. And that is
sometimes
just
it is.
not true. But it can be sometimes, but that's not usually the case, depending on where you are in your cycle, unless they want to just wait for that one time in your cycle where things are all working. And even then, that's not always the case. You take certain medications, you're going to be dry. You're in
the
certain
older you
climates,
get.
you're going to be
Or
dry.
you're
Like,
not in the
you're
mood.
dehydrated.
You're not
in the mood. Maybe it takes a little bit more. So in order to have more positive times, I would say use lubrication no matter what. And again, I'm a big fan of Lumi. I'm like, use it. Just have it next to you on the nightstand. Sometimes I just say, have it next to you. You don't even have to use it, but let your partner understand this is a normal
them
part
know.
of sex.
Yeah.
Let them keep everything in the
Yeah,
nightstand.
it's
Let them
there.
know what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
Oh, the nightstand.
Well, I think that's more for us because we're single. So, they happen to look in the nightstand. They know what they're working with. But yeah, no, all of that is helpful. And I think it's so, I don't know. I'm comfortable now than I was when I was growing up. But it just helps me to feel like I'm not alone. You can talk about it.
Yeah.
I think when you get with your girlfriends, you feel a little bit like, but sometimes there's always one or somebody there that is uncomfortable, that maybe isn't as experienced. And so, listen, guys, it's okay. It's okay. It is okay to want to ask questions. It's okay to the book Now it's online.
Yeah.
You can just go look for it in porn.
Yeah.
It's not true.
It's misinformation
No.
left and right.
As part of my Vivid Fantasy, I created a kind of create your own fantasy. You know, how when we were younger, create your own adventure. So because I want to encourage people to stay away from like visual pornography, it's not all bad, don't get me wrong, but people tend to get the wrong impressions. And a lot of women, we're turned off by it. We really are. Like it just doesn't feel, it's like very sex trafficking. It's just very objectifying.
Yeah.
So what I've been encouraging my couples to do, and have been for decades in my office, but now online, you can all access it, is to create your own fantasy. Okay. And that will really turn things on,
I think so.
and it's
Or-
very
or
arousing.
play
And there
dress
are
up.
different options, right? Yes, you can
Role-playing.
role play. Honestly, like our brains are the largest sex organs. We need to be nurturing that. And if you can do that as a couple, it's even sexier. And then the last thing that I would say about this particular topic is that if something doesn't feel right, speak up. Please speak up, because the longer you do something that you're uncomfortable with, and the longer your partner feels like something's not right here, but I don't know why, the more resentment is going to build up, the more of an issue is going to build up. You're going to be sweeping things under the rug, and yes, you're going to end up tripping, and that's not fair to them either.
Right.
Just, maybe they ask you once or twice, or maybe they don't ask. Either way, it's up to us as the stewards of our bodies, and especially our sexuality, is to share that with our partners to give you the best shot at having something more long term.
Absolutely. And I'm going to add to that
Yes.
be the advocate of your own body and your own pleasure,
For
because
sure.
they don't know what they don't know. And so
Right.
if you continually feed, oh, yeah, that did feel good, because you're trying to avoid a confrontation, you're trying to avoid the conversation, you're only hurting yourself. And they don't want to be doing something that you don't like. They really, well, if they're a good
100%.
partner.
Care, yeah.
If they're a good partner. They don't want to be bad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
give them the benefit of the doubt that they want to learn a better way. They want to learn your body, because everybody's body is different. And so just because all the same things go into the same holes doesn't mean that it's not the same body. So be an advocate for yourself, and your partner, if it's a good partner, wants to please you. They
Right.
want to, so
Or
give
they
them
want
the
to be
best
a
shot.
part of pleasing you, right? Because there might be times where
Because then we have to take
you only
responsibility
know-
for ourselves.
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
take care of and be responsible for your own orgasm too.
Right.
Whether she's easily accessible or not, handing over the reins and saying, make this happen, that's not how human bodies work. So until the robots are everywhere.
And listen, I was hoping to talk about that, but I think we're running out of time here. But yeah, there's this, you wonder how you get to the thing we had, the topic of on Nightcap was if there was an AI robot out there that could please and do all the things. It's so easy to see it now, because we're walking around pretty much robots ourselves, so to where we're not, expressing what we need, all these things. But if you can program ChatGPT, the robot, right, to do these things,
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, and I don't think you want a
sounding-
partner that doesn't speak up and doesn't say it. Like, even as a woman too. I mean, on the opposite side, I think that should go on both sides.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so to conserve the time for human to human,
Yeah.
men, you need to be understanding and listen to your women, and women, you need to be more expressive.
Yeah.
Because if not, 10 years down the line
for
might
sure.
be a problem.
Well, and think about it. I don't often hear in my office men who are like, she's been doing this thing sexually to me that for years that I didn't like or that hurt. Men are going to be the first ones to say, no, that's going to hurt me, or I don't like that, or and why not advocate for yourself as well? Why not be that person that says, and I will say again, because I have to throw in my therapist stuff in here, is share what is working for you. And then every once in a while, like if something comes up, it's not a big deal that you're sharing that something isn't working. But if you only speak up when something is off or bad, that can feel very complaining. And another little PSA. I'm like thinking about all this stuff.
Love it.
Women, don't just complain to your friends about your relationships. Share what's working. There are so many women out there who are like, the reason I'm quiet or the reason I stopped being friends with them is because all they do is complain about their partners.
Yeah.
That stinks. Like to not have somebody that you can be like, things are going really awesome. I'm really
And I agree with that, because as single women, when you get with your married friends and they use you as the time to gripe and bitch about what's going on in
like,
their
I'm
marriage.
never getting married.
Yeah,
And we're
exactly.
like, not only are we thinking that, we're, thank God I'm not married. But at the same time, it's also like, we also look at marriages and think, God, you don't know, the grass is not greener on the other side, And so sometimes I'm like, would you just make it work or shut the fuck up? You know what I mean? Like, it is. So I totally agree with that. But how do we, let's just say single, married, whatever. When is the time to seek out a therapist? Or when is the time that they should be like, you know what, we need to talk to someone else because our communication maybe is not working?
Yeah. If you've been trying to work on something for at least 6 months on your own, if you've actually had a few sit downs and nothing comes of it or it gets worse, that's when you should seek help. I think you should always try on your own though, because you'd be surprised. Maybe you assume, oh, my partner would never be okay with talking about this, or I know exactly what she's going to say. Don't cut them off at the knees. Give your partner the ability to say let me think about that, or let me do some research, or I don't know how I feel about that. Because what ends up happening is that if you come straight to a therapist, which is fine, then you can become a little bit dependent on it, and then you're only talking about things in the office. Yeah. There are many times where I'm like, guys, you have literally not talked about any of this between sessions. What's going on there? Yeah. And of course, I give my clients and you can get it online too. I think, DM the word check-in, and I'll send you my weekly check-in and my monthly check-ins. You can get those on my Instagram for free. But those are the things that I give to my clients because they should be checking in with each other on a weekly and then, of course, a little bit deeper on a monthly basis. Try it on your own. 6 months. 3 to 6 months. If it's really bad, just come in. But both of you will be on the same page about we really need help. If there's any sort of infidelity or trauma that's happened, just make an appointment. Just do it. Come in as soon as possible. But for those daily things and all of that, you should be talking about it 3 to 6 months. Try and see. Then you can come in. Because after 3 to 6 months, if nothing has happened or if it's gotten worse, chances are it's not going to get any better on your own.
Yeah. You need some outside help.
You need some help.
And
if you're single.
I feel like it shouldn't be so taboo either. I think a lot of people get, I have to see a therapist. What's wrong with us? Our relationship is doomed. And that's total opposite. I mean, when you can't work out on your own, you hire a trainer. There's no stigma there. So it's the same concept. So I think if you know someone like Dr. Viviana, who's an incredible relationship and sex therapist, why not seek out that help? I mean, why not seek out the help? There doesn't have to be something clandestine about it. It can just be what it is, and getting an expert's help is always a good choice.
And you're not alone. I'm literally probably seeing clients from each of your neighborhoods. I mean, you would never know because we keep it confidential. But people want to come in and they're like, hey, we just want to make sure that we're still together a decade from now. What do we need to know? Right. What's the investment we can make in us now so that we can be there later? A lot of people, especially once they have kids, are like, we don't want to be those people who divorce after having kids, which is very common. Or maybe it's their second or third marriages, and they're like, how do we avoid a fourth or fifth marriage? So it's an investment, and it's definitely, I think, worth it, and it doesn't have to be forever. I'm a brief solution-focused therapist, so I'm not going to see you for years and years unless you come in for different things. The most or the least that I see my couples is once every 4 months just for a check-in. So, but yeah, it's.
Listen, I love it. Okay,
I love
ladies,
it too.
I love the convo, and I wish I had this when I was younger, but we're doing it now. I feel like this needs to be a monthly thing.
Yeah.
But listen, tell them how they can find you. So we'll start with you. If you need some business strategy, anything like that.
If you need some business strategy, I always say head over to The Pursuit of Badassery. It is where you can find me as a consultant, books, podcasts, educational courses, freebies. So The Pursuit of Badassery across all platforms.
And I'm at Dr. Viviana, spell out Dr. DoctorViviana on all platforms. My YouTube is a fun place to check in with me, but I'm usually on Instagram. And then my email newsletter people get the best from me. So
Love it.
That's probably the best place.
We had so much fun.
Yes.
We need to have y'all on again.
And again.
It is fun.
Yeah.
And then us, because what's happening now? What's in a month from now? Where are we at? Same place?
Probably.
I don't know, but cheers, ladies.
Cheers.
Cheers. Sex talk.